Come, let us explore the gift of language. In order to do so, I'm going to turn to this evening's teaching text. Not teaching text, but supplementary text. The vast expanse of the diamond-like mind, also known as Dorje Sampa Namkache, composed by Prahe Vajra, translated from the Tibetan by Namka Norbu, translated from the Italian by Adriano Clemente, adapted and amplified by yours truly. Through the Ah and the beautiful Ta, the Pa, and their emanated branches. In the sphere of experience of the whole world, the profound voice of the Buddha arises. And I'm going to do a quick edit because that's how I roll. I think I'll put voice over here and there we go. I think that's more balanced. So what? You could rightfully ask. If you're seeing my face and hearing my voice, there's a very good chance that you're raised in a culture where there is literacy, where you learn to speak a language and to read a language, usually more than one. Allow me to remind you of what you already know. That is a great privilege. When I look back over the foibles of my youth, I can honestly say that at age 16 or 17, I simply did not have the words for what I was going through. And even though I intended to do the right thing and to be kind, I did not always know how to be as sensitive as I wanted to be because I did not know how to explain what I was going through. Did not know how to communicate to people in a way that made them feel respected and valued. Even though I did feel those things without the words, without my non-verbal communication could only take me so far. And then I would run up against the proverbial brick wall. And if that's true for the banalities of high school and dating, how much more so is it for the subtleties of philosophy and meditation? Few of us were raised in a perfect place by perfect people. Most of us were raised by very, very flawed people in very, very flawed places, and sometimes by downright cruel and dangerous people. And yet, if the systems in place that failed us in so many ways at least empowered us to learn to hear and speak and read and write language, then within that scope we do have something to be grateful for. I never enjoyed reading growing up. Reading was a painful process because of all my brain damage. It wasn't until I discovered spirituality and the conundrum of scripture that I really started to enjoy reading. All of a sudden it was a dopamine hit. And so tonight's lesson is really, really simple. The meditations and philosophies that we enjoy playing with are only made possible because of language. Language spoken, language heard, language read, language written. And simply valuing that can sow greater seeds of peace and gratitude and joy. Having concluded this evening's opening lesson. Let us prepare to meditate. It is Rey Skywalker's Sunday evening. Come, let us meditate like a Jedi after 30 seconds of housekeeping. This is Lama Jigme Gyatso of the Buddha Joy Meditation School. For more than 30 years, I've spent about 8 hours a day, almost every day, studying, practicing, mastering, and reverse engineering the teachings and techniques of each school of meditation so that you would not have to. Welcome, my friends, to Meditate Like a Jedi, which is made possible due to the generosity of viewers just like you. We turn our attention now to the latest iteration of the practice text known as Easy Meditation. Now I get to tap the right button. Welcome to this evening's first quarter of mindful crease counting meditation. To keep track of this first quarter, we could rest the great knuckle at the base of our right little finger upon the tip of our left little finger, palms up in our lap. Doing so can gently invite our real or imagined subtle energies to coalesce within the bladder region of our lower abdomen. The most efficient way to practice mindfulness is to silently and mentally recite the demonstrative pronoun this during our inhalation. Doing so helps us to vulnerably, passively, viscerally, randomly, and fleetingly notice mind's antics of perception. You know, sights, seeing, hearing, feeling, tasting, smelling, and the like, such as emotion, intention, cognition, recollection, and imagination. The most efficient way to practice meditation is to silently and mentally recite the one-syllable verb ease during each exhalation, thus causing us to physically relax and mentally release to the point that what we noticed during our previous inhalation could fleetingly feel less tantalizing, less permanent, and less defining. So together as a team, let us practice meditation right now. We turn now to the 20th verse of the vast expanse of the diamond-like mind. Wonderful. The sphere of experience of the Buddhas is not a place to be found by searching. And like the phenomena of the six senses, it is also not an object we should grasp after. Wrong button. Let's try that again. Those who search for it are like the blind reaching for the sky. So now together as a team, let's chant. Wonderful the sphere of experience of the Buddhas, not a place to be found by active searching. And like the phenomena of the six senses, it is also not an object we should grasp after. So right off the bat, we find something jarring. Superficially, there are many who are members of patriarchy's religious establishment would say, yes, strive for enlightenment. Strive for a Buddha's experience. But the author of this text has said it can't be found through active searching, and then elaborates by saying it just as sensual clinging is a challenge and is something to be transcended, so is clinging and reaching and striving for enlightenment, which could seem weird. So we continue reading. Those who search for it, this enlightenment, are like the blind reaching for the sky. Anybody who sits cross-legged on the ground and reaches in the air for the sky is going to pull back a whole bunch of nothing. No one who has ever sat down on the grass outside has never pulled their hands back and opened up and found blue. No. It never happened. And just as the sky is non-graspable, so is everything else. Everything good, everything bad, everything neutral, including enlightenment itself. What is the takeaway for this? Here's the takeaway. The method the Buddha offers us is remarkably easy. We either walk briskly or we sit stably, and in harmony with our inhalation, we cooperate with our sympathetic nervous system and notice, vulnerably, passively, viscerally, randomly, and fleetingly. And in cooperation or coordination with our exhalation, in cooperation with our parasympathetic nervous system, we allow our body to physically relax, and that allows our mind to mentally release. And that's all. Releasing doesn't mean that that which we noticed goes away, but that does mean that that which we noticed is going to control our choices, utterances, and deeds a little bit less. And that's the freedom the Buddha offers us. And you might say, well, that sounds pretty active, until you remember that we are already wired by evolution to notice as we breathe in and relax as we breathe out. And so the real task of meditation is not to reinvent the wheel, but to simply undo the unhappy coincidence of evolution, wherein our cerebral cortex tends to habitually compete with our autonomic nervous system rather than cooperate with it. So that's all we're doing, is we're gently getting better at cooperating with the inner mechanisms of our central nervous system, which is remarkably easy. So easy, as a matter of fact, that the Buddha insisted that full enlightenment was possible in as little as a week or two. So when someone tells you enlightenment is difficult and it's for only special people at a special time, no. The Buddha says, or at least the words of the Buddha say, that no, it can be accomplished in a week or two. And if someone says that's impossible, thank them for their time and move on, because they most certainly cannot help you. So let us return to meditation. I'm going to tap button 9. Yes. Welcome to this evening's second quarter of mindful crease counting meditation. We could keep track of this quarter by resting the great knuckle at the base of our right ring finger upon the tip of our left ring finger, palms up in our lap. Oopsie. Doing so could gently invite our real or imagined subtle energies to coalesce in the navel region of our mid-abdomen. So, as we inhale, let us silently and mentally recite the demonstrative pronoun this, thus helping us to notice mind's antics. During our exhalation, let's silently and mentally recite the one-syllable verb ease, thus helping us to relax into mind's non-graspable nature. Good evening and welcome to the live stream. We're going to take a gander at an English translation of an ancient text after I press the appropriate button. And this is going to be, the 21st verse of Dorje Sempa Numkat Che, which translates as the vast expanse of the diamond-like mind. The gradual path of purity that seemingly leads higher and higher does not correspond to the nature behind action. What does that mean? What's the nature behind action? The nature behind anything is our circumstances are appearing, yet non-graspable. Our bodies are sensual, yet non-graspable. Our relationships are resounding, yet non-graspable. And our minds are lucid, yet non-graspable. So the wisdom of letting go is in conflict with Lam or Nondro or whatever methodical, slow path of enlightenment there is. There has always been a minority who've sought a sudden path of enlightenment, not through koans and not through austerities, but through the Buddha's simple practice described as the 7 enlightenment factors. Together, were there really a path to tread, just like the bounds of the sky, one would never arrive. If you're a sci-fi geek like myself, you might have read Ringworld, in which in the distant future, Earth astronauts come upon a planet that has a ring around it, an artificial ring, and they have populated that ring, and people are looking for people are following the ring, looking for the end of the ring. You and I both know it's a ring that it has no end. And so Larry Niven put that in his book as kind of a joke. This noble warrior was on this quest to find the end of the ring, but a ring is a loop. Similarly, using the part of the brain that analyzes and focuses will do many things, but will not give us mastery over the part of the brain that notices and releases. Allow me to illustrate that with some graphics. Please bear with me for a moment. I'm going to tap button 9. Here we go. So, let's go over here. When we rely upon our medial prefrontal cortex to focus, or our dorsolateral prefrontal cortex to analyze, if we persist in this for a certain length of time, we will fatigue this area of our brain, which will trigger the amygdala, which is the seat of anxiety and aggression. And I think you would agree that this is a detour on the path of peace and love. This is not the goal. In fact, it's taken you in the opposite direction. However, and this is wild, when we rely upon our sympathetic nervous system to notice. And when we rely upon our parasympathetic nervous system to release, not only do we calm both the presence or both the intensity and influence of our anxiety and aggression, but we stimulate our anterior cingulate gyrus, which functions as the hub of our mirror neurons, the seat of empathy, which in turn is the root of both compassion and love. And so there's nothing wrong with our prefrontal cortex. It's an excellent tool, but it is a terrible tyrant. So how then are we to know when to use our prefrontal cortex? Simple. The more time we spend effectively playing with mindfulness and meditation, once every 12 hours or so, the more we will notice that our choices and our utterances and our deeds are flowing from the effortless effort of love's centered spontaneity. When we go with the flow, and the centered spontaneity should not be confused with scattered spontaneity, the type we would experience after perhaps our fourth consecutive espresso. But the centered spontaneity that flows from mindfulness and meditation, then rather than repress our capacity for analysis, it will optimize it. And we'll find that are able to, when our focus is effortless and spontaneous, and our analysis is spontaneous and centered, it is far more productive. Welcome to the third quarter of Mindful Crease Counting Meditation. We could keep track of this third quarter by resting the great knuckle at the base of our right middle finger upon the tip of our left middle finger, palms up in our lap. Doing so could gently invite our real or imagined subtle energies to coalesce in the heart region of our chest. By the way, the moment you have a specific question about Buddhist chanting, Buddhist philosophy, Buddhist meditation, or Buddhist mindfulness, please type your question in great detail in the chat window. Strike while the iron is hot. And now, together as a team, let's practice. We come now to the 22nd of 55 verses. The authentic condition being thus: by being shown as it is attained. As it is the very essence, its manifestation arises from it. Oh, how marvelous. Now, there's some vagaries here, like the pronoun it and thus. Well, this is based on the idea from the previous one that enlightenment comes not from a gradual, difficult path, but from simply cooperating with the Buddha nature, which is simply a charming Iron Age way of inferring that the basic neurological structures of our central nervous system support not only the practice of the Buddha's Eightfold Path, but its mastery. So I think it could be quite fun if together as a team we chanted this. The authentic condition being this, by being shown as it is attained. As it is the very essence, its manifestation arises from it, oh how marvelous. Welcome to the fourth quarter of this evening's Mindful Crease Counting Meditation. To keep track of this fourth quarter, we could rest the great knuckle at the base of our right index finger, upon the tip of our left index finger, palms up in our lap. Whoops, wrong button. Doing so could gently invite our real or imagined subtle energies to coalesce at the crown region of our head. When we silently and mentally we recite the demonstrative pronoun this during our inhalation, we cannot help but perform the vulnerable, passive, visceral, random, and fleeting noticing that is mindfulness. When we silently and mentally recite the one-syllable verb ease during our exhalation, we cannot help but practice the mental release that is meditation. Let's practice. You have taken your first step into a much larger world. Whoops. If you feel that I have earned it, you could give this live stream a thumbs up. You could even help support this channel. In approximately 11 hours, I would very much like to return to lead tomorrow's early meditation class and group practice. And if you are as geeky as me, may the Force be with you always.